Welcome back to another edition of Build Your Legacy podcast. We're here today. We've got another episode here with Jack. He was so good once, we had to have him on twice, right? So, we got Jack back. We went into the background with him, a previous episode about who he is and really touched on SIAA as a whole. I work very closely with him, working to help grow our network locally. And as the Chief Growth Officer, he is really vital in helping us expand our footprint across the country. So we wanted to come back today and talk a little more pointed toward prospective members, kind of dig into the value that we bring those prospective members, whether a startup or an existing agency. Jack, thanks for joining us again, buddy.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm glad to be here. It's always fun talking with you, Travis.
I was going to say, we get, I'm an important person and a joy to talk to. So I say
it's one of the thrills of my life.
Well, look, we dove into SIAA as a whole previously, and then we talked about your role as the Chief Growth Officer. You're working with the recruiters. We have our sort of weekly recruiter calls. You guys do a great job of keeping us all together and really sharing resources across the country. And because of that, I'm sure you get great insight into different competitors, different things going on in the marketplace. And so wanted to touch on that today, but wanted to start with sort of the big picture piece of things. When you look at SIAA, when you look at SIA of North Carolina or other master agencies across the country, how do we differentiate ourselves compared to other aggregators, partnerships, clusters, whatever you want to call them, right? How are we standing out? How are we different?
I think one of the key ways that we differentiate ourselves from our competitors is, again, that our model is really based upon helping our members grow. Mm-hmm. We look at ourselves as being a true partner where we literally have people in our members' offices helping them in terms of carrier mix or product mix or technology or training. They act as a consultant, a mentor, a coach, anything that our members need. Now, it's important to understand that our members are truly independent. They can pick and choose the level of support that they need. But the way that we really differentiate ourselves is we are based upon growth. We have the infrastructure to help facilitate that growth. Now, there's 150 other companies out there that are happy to aggregate your premium for you. Yeah. Kind of a transient model. They may have some enhanced compensation, but generally not much more than that. So, again, it's more of a transient relationship. We're here when you need us. If you decide that you need to put a couple of pieces of business with us, that's all fine and well. We're a little bit of a different model where we're really talking and really committed to helping our members, again, build the biggest asset that they're ever going to have.
Yeah, I think that we talked on in the last podcast. We're not transactional, right?
That's right.
We're not here to just help write an individual policy. We want you to, right? Don't take that the wrong way. We want you to, but we want you to build that asset. And in some ways, it might not be the perfect way to phrase it, but in some ways you mentioned hey, we're going to be in your office, right? In some fashion, we're kind of subsidizing your agency, right? Whether that's through our Access Plus division, our agency growth coach, our technology package, whatever it might be, right? We're kind of subsidizing your agency to help you with those challenges of being a small business owner.
I think about a lot of the support that we provide our members, and it's really based upon the feedback that we get from our members. Mm-hmm. It's based upon the experience that our members have had. So SIA is continuously looking to evolve, to identify ways to be able to open up additional opportunities for our members. And again, to try to mitigate any of the headwinds or obstacles of growth that a member may experience.
No, that makes complete sense. Well, let's talk about those members, right? So where you sit today, if you were to break it down, what would you say are the target potential partners or target prospects for us to partner with?
I think the reality of it is that we can help members at any stage of their journey, whether somebody is coming from the captive environment or dipping their toe into the independent space for the very first time, for existing agencies and even those larger agencies that are looking for a higher level of support. There was a misperception out there that SIAA was really geared toward helping startup and scratch agencies, and we absolutely can and do that. But we're far more than that. We can help any member. We talk about our SIA or our member journey map, and that's really about helping our members evolve and to grow through the different kind of levels of agency ownership, if you will, but also to be able to meet any of our member agencies where they're at and help them kind of get to the next level.
I remember the old marketing slogan, and we still might have it, right? But the total solution, right? So, I mean,
That is correct. Yeah.
what you're saying there is, we're really a fit for any startup, existing agency, in the market, just depending on where you are in your life cycle, is going to factor into the relationship we built. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
what is the value we are bringing to that captive agent, financial advisor, real estate agent? I mean, startup agency can come from so many different avenues, right? But what's the value we're bringing to that person who's looking to quote unquote go out and hang their sign?
Yeah. I think what people are going to find is it's about more than being just a really good salesperson.
Right.
We like to say that we help our members transition from being very successful salespeople to very successful business owners.
There's a
Right.
difference.
So yeah, there's a big difference. I mean, you think of somebody that's coming from a captive environment. They've been primarily working with one carrier, with one set of products, with one technology, with one marketing team, and now they step into an independent space, and now they're responsible for all of those things.
Yeah.
And they need help, they need guidance. I mean, you go from working with one carrier to now having access to well over 100. Which ones do you work with?
Yeah.
So our Access Plus departments and our agency growth coaches help new members really understand who they want to work with. Which carriers are actually going to provide the best solutions, the best technology, the best service
Best
for their
compensation.
particular clients.
Yeah.
Right. Right. All of that. It's a starting point. So, again, SIAA has that infrastructure with our agency growth coaches, with our Access Plus department, with our master agencies, with our training and learning center, all of those things to really help get a new member established. And when I mean a new member, I mean somebody that's coming into the independent space for the first time.
Right.
Even something like our foundation program,
Yeah.
which is a critical thing that we've offered for the last decade or so. So when you come into SIAA, it's not, hey, welcome aboard and we'll check in from time to time. We have formal programs to help establish a foundation in which to be able to build growth off of, right? So this is about learning how to run an agency, selecting the right technology stack, the accounting, the marketing, establishing a brand, social media, all of those things we help our members with to get a solid foundation started.
Yeah, I was going to say, when I'm out talking to a lot of these prospective startup agencies, no matter where they kind of came from, the example I use is, you're stepping into a role now where you're going to be the producer, the HR representative, the janitor. You've got to do it all yourself. And I kind of equate it to, growing up, you'd start out on the bike with the training wheels, and then you'd get the Huffy, and eventually you'd get that bike with the gears on the thumbs, and you'd be trying to change that thing, and you don't want that chain to slip because you wanted to keep riding. And that's the big kicker with these guys is they're stepping in. There's a lot of moving parts to this. There's a lot more that goes into being an agency owner than just writing a policy. And that's where we're going to help really develop you, grow you, and help you achieve your full potential.
Yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head, Travis, in terms of they are responsible for doing everything. But not only are they responsible for doing everything, but they have to continuously write business.
Yeah.
It's so critical in the beginning. So we take a lot of that weight off of their shoulders in terms of providing direction and resources to be able to make it a little bit easier and allow our members to be able to not only build their business, but to continue to bring business through the doors.
I think we do a great job of it. And it's what attracted me to the position I'm in 9+ years ago when I originally kind of learned about what we do. So, I kind of put myself in that shoes as a former producer who, naturally had sat in a seat at some point and said, hey, maybe I could do this for myself, and didn't know where to start, and, saw the resources we had and said, hey, if I was going to do it, this is how I would do it, right? So
Yep.
the opposite of a startup agency is an existing agency or someone that's already operating in the independent space. And I think there's, in some ways, two different agencies there, right? We've got, the what I would call the traditional independent agent, right? The traditional independent agent that you see in your town, right? And then you've got the, I'd say, multi-generational, well-established agency that might be of a higher revenue scale. I feel like we bring value to both of those in different ways depending on where they are, but wanted you to kind of speak a little bit to the value we're going to bring that person that's already in business, that already has markets, that's successful, right? How do we help take them to that next level?
Yeah, it's really about understanding where they're at. It's
Right.
important to understand that when our recruiters, such as yourself, are out there and they're actually working with startup and particularly existing agencies to do kind of like a needs review. And I think everybody that's listening
Hmm.
is familiar with needs reviews. That's where it all starts for us. We spend the time working with existing agency owners to understand what their aspirations are, what their goals are, what their pain points are.
Yeah.
And what we try to do is to align our value proposition to their specific needs, right? So for an existing agency, they may have a handful of relationships that they've already established. But we may actually be able to assist them based upon the relationships that we have to leverage our size and our scale to kind of get them better access, better compensation. So that is a big attracting factor for existing agencies. Can we do better for them in that regard? But as we've talked about quite a bit, it's about the continued growth, and that's certainly true for existing agencies. They aspire to attain even higher levels of success. So that may incorporate, bringing on additional agencies, purchasing additional agencies, maybe breaking more into the commercial line space, getting more into the life and benefits space. We have the necessary infrastructure to be able to help existing agencies take advantage of greater levels of growth and opportunity. The interesting thing is that for an existing agency, that principal has probably done a pretty good job in terms of establishing a business and
Yeah.
getting it up and running. But they recognize that in order for them to continue to evolve and grow, they need to leverage different tools and support. And that's where we come in. We provide them. We work with those agency owners to identify opportunities, to mitigate headwinds, and to help bring them to that next level of growth.
Yeah, I tell you, one of the things that I found in my 9+ years of doing this, sitting down with an existing agency owner, to your point, they've built a successful business. They're doing a good job, but a lot of times, one of the biggest, I'd say, challenges they face or needs they face is they get pulled in different directions to where they're really doing stuff they don't really enjoy doing, right? And what they want to do and what they're focused on doing is finding a way to spend more time on the things that they like about the industry, but they want to work on their business, not in their business. And I think that's the huge value we bring is we're able to help them sort of navigate those challenges to really focus on the things they like and focus more on the business as a whole versus working and kind of grinding on a day-to-day basis. And really, as you said, going to that next level, continuing to evolve and grow and develop.
One of the things that we do is we take a lot of the burdens off of an agency owner. So not only are we helping improve their business, we're actually helping them improve their quality of life.
Yes.
As you said, it allows them to focus on the things that they truly enjoy and maybe even the things that they're better at. And we may be able to kind of backfill those other areas and to help provide support to allow them to actually focus in the areas that they truly want to focus
No,
on.
as someone who grew up at a family-owned agency and saw those things firsthand, first with my grandfather and now with my uncle, I do think it's a huge benefit that a lot of agencies, don't really truly realize. Kind of circling back to your point earlier about, they're being misrepresented, what they're reading online isn't accurate. And so I would kind of use that to kind of sort of tie into if you're that agency owner and or you're that, guy sitting in the seat like I used to do going, man, maybe I want to do this for myself one day. Where could they learn more? I mean, how could they learn about what we do?
They can attend what we call the SIA monthly informational session. We've
Yep.
been holding these each and every month. Pretty short call, runs probably 30 to 40 minutes of content. And we share pretty much every aspect of our value proposition with the attendees. So it really gives them a good flavor of the process, of the support, of the technology, of the training, of the market access, of the compensation. It's really a great starting point, right? A really great entryway, a way to people for them to kind of walk through the door and learn a little bit. But it's really just the beginning of the education.
Yeah.
What we generally do is for those people that attend that information session, we will direct them toward our national recruiters and even our local recruiters that can dive quite a bit deeper. So, as stated previously, this is where the real education and
Hmm.
understanding begins because it does start and end on a one-on-one basis where a recruiter will sit down with an agency principal and do what we call a needs review to help understand what their goals and their pain points are, and then work with them to educate them on the services of our local master agencies and SIA as a whole, and how we can address those pain points or uncover those additional opportunities. I think one of the things that I'm immensely proud of is that our recruiters and our organization and the way that we operate, it's total transparency.
Yes.
We want to make sure that our prospects have a clear and full understanding of every aspect of an engagement with SIAA that will allow them to make an informed decision whether they decide to come to SIAA, whether they decide to stay where they're at, or even if they go to a competitor. We feel like we are doing our jobs and making sure that we're providing full disclosure and a full understanding. We want to make sure that the people that we bring in are happy
Yeah.
and that they actually get the full benefit. We're not in this, for somebody to come in for a year or two. We want to have long engagements. You and I have talked a lot about growth, and that takes time.
Yes.
So we want to make sure that the relationship that we start is right from the beginning. And it's important to understand we don't take everybody. We
Yes.
want to make sure that we're identifying those agency owners that have a true desire to grow and evolve.
I think that's a great point. We don't take everybody, and I think we do a great job as an organization, both locally and nationally, of being able to be the first to raise our hand and point people in different directions when there isn't a fit. Right back to your point of transparency, open, honest, and I think a lot of that starts with one, the people that are doing the education and helping you start that journey have to believe in what we're doing, and
Yeah.
I can attest as someone who grew up in an agency. My family, complete transparency, they're partners and have been for the last 6 years or so. I've been here 9 years. That's how much I believe in what we do. That I even brought my own family into the fold because I feel there's unlimited value here for a business owner and an agency owner in today's market.
Yeah, yeah. You know what I mean? If you think about our members, right, or even any agency owner out there, going out and marketing and working with somebody to get a sale is
Hmm.
is great and it's an important thing, but it's not nearly as important as actually holding on to that
Yeah.
that client.
One of the things I wanted to hit on before we got out of here is the carrier relationships and the point of distribution, the reliable point of distribution, and the data that we're able to collect to help our members write more business. How's that helping both the individual member but also the carrier partner?
There's a couple of things that I think that we should touch upon. As you mentioned, data and the technology, more so
Hmm.
than ever, SIA is leveraging data for the members that are participating in particular programs. We're marrying data between our members and our carrier partners to identify growth opportunities for our members, but we're actually pulling data from our carrier partners to identify the areas in which they are most competitive
Yeah.
and where they win. So we're getting far more surgical in terms of working with our members to identify those opportunities where they may be, considering remarketing a piece of business to put it in a better place, to earn more compensation, whatever the case might be. So we're not casting a wide net, or we're not only casting a wide net, but we're also leveraging that data to be more surgical to identify those specific opportunities of growth and enhanced compensation for our members. It's pretty cool.
It all kind of coalesces together to where our members, as they're looking for growth opportunities, they can target the right things. And then our carrier partners, they're getting good, profitable growth that's going to stick with them for an extended period of time, which helps them as an organization as a whole achieve their goals. So the beauty of the relationship, I feel like, is that, hey, it's really, SIAA, the master agencies, our individual members, and the carrier partners. All four of us all rely upon each other to have success, which ultimately makes it a win-win for everybody, I feel like.
Yeah, look, we have had unmitigated success for the past 30 years. And the reason why we've had that level of success is that our model works for everybody.
Yeah.
It works for our carrier partners in terms of being a viable and reliable source of profitable distribution for them. It certainly works for SIA and our master agencies, but most importantly, it works for our members. If you look at the economics, if you look at the benefits, we are the biggest and best game in town for those individuals that are truly looking to grow. The other thing that I'll say in terms of our relationship with our carrier partners is I do think that one of the key differentiators that we kind of bring to the table is the way that our model is structured, right? So previously you and I had talked about other networks that are out there that are just looking to aggregate premium. It's more of a transient relationship. You're not really talking about development. So that doesn't necessarily offer the type of growth that a carrier is looking for. It certainly doesn't offer the type of profitable growth that a carrier is looking for. With all of the services that we have in terms of developing our members, our book management, our technology, identifying the right types of business, we know from working with our carrier partners that we outproduce our competitors and we actually have better retention and better profitability in terms of the type of business that we work with. So what does that mean for our members? It means that the relationships that we've established with our carrier partners are really, really strong because we are a viable and a reliable source of profitable distribution for them, right? Mm-hmm. So that means that our deals with our carrier partners are probably going to stay in place and probably going to be enhanced because of the results that we can bring to the table.
Yeah, it all goes back to driving dollars to the bottom line with the focus of building the most valuable asset for our members. That's the name of the game.
Absolutely.
Well, look, I genuinely appreciate you taking the time, Jack. This has been great. Let's make sure everybody knows that, hey, you can go learn more about us through these monthly info sessions that Jack and Mike Hodges are putting together for us and get off and get running. And then anything you'd like to add in closing?
I just want to say, we are here to help facilitate, the whole process and to educate. Anything that we can do to provide you with insights so you can make an informed decision, whether you decide to come to SIA North Carolina and SIA, whether you decide to stay where you're at or even to go somewhere else, our responsibility is to educate you so you can make that informed decision. Beyond that, just want to say thank you for your time and listening. It's always great spending time with you, Travis, with you and your audience. So thank you so much.
Likewise, I appreciate the time. And then if we're going to sign off from here, but if anybody has any topics or any questions that they want answered, feel free to reach out to us and make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Thanks, Jack. I'll see you.
All right, man. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in. You can catch our Build Your Legacy Insurance Edition podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, or send us over a topic recommendation at podcast@siaofnc.com. If you're interested in learning more about what we do, visit us online at www.siaofnc.com. We hope you enjoyed our newest episode. See you next week.